And I had written about this in some of my op-eds for RT about the playbook that the government weaponizes the Western media, and they use the playbook of you vilify, you marginalize, you dehumanize whoever the enemy is, so that even if they might be right on certain points, you don't like them. So one thing I've been noticing is this focus on calling Vladimir Putin Hitler. And my take on this is because our government is actually funding Nazis in Ukraine, neo-Nazis, and it's to deflect. It's again, switch and bait, to deflect from what they're actually doing, actual neo-Nazis. And I found it so offensive because Vladimir Putin's, knowing his background, his parents, his father fought in World War II. His mother almost died in the fall of Leningrad. His brother died. I mean, he fought Nazis. He has very strong feelings about it and discusses it quite often. So do you feel like that's just another thing the West is doing to just dig in and just, try to vilify?
Well, it reflects, the thinking of the leaders of the United States and the way they're talking in Ivy League schools on a number of levels. I mean, okay, so first things first, it's just an insult, right? The Russians are very proud of their role in the Second World War and the defeat of Nazism. So comparing one of, the Nazis killed 27 million people in the Soviet Union. So it's just psychological warfare on that front. But also you have to remember, okay, so we have, at the time of the fall of the Soviet Union, prevailing in the United States among people studying foreign policy, you had a lot of people that were studying what they called Sovietology or Kremlinology, and that was dominated by neoconservatism. And you had Irving Kristol and Leo Strauss, and they were the two big giant intellectuals of Sovietology and Kremlinology, and they were the founders of neoconservatism. And a big part of neoconservatism is equating all critics of liberal capitalism and the free market with Nazis, right? And all populism is Nazism. Leo Strauss was a philosophy professor, and his big book is called Persecution and the Art of Writing. And he basically argues that there are these really smart people throughout history, Plato, Socrates, Immanuel Kant, and they're always being persecuted by the inferior rabble, the little people, and they're always going around persecuting them. So they have to write in code and all of that. And that average people are these dangerous, ignorant, rabble that get in the way of the great intellectuals, right? And so you have to manage society to make sure the rabble, the inferior ones, never get together and start making demands, because if they do, that's the same as Hitler. Communism is the same as fascism, and it's all when the average people start getting together and making their demands. And so the job of the intellectuals is to kind of, work with the government to create a smoke screen, to kind of manipulate the inferior ones. They kind of view average people as like little children who, the world events are too complicated for us to understand. And the smarter people, the folks who go to the Ivy League schools, their job is to just give us this very black and white view of the world and manipulate it in order to make sure that the bad, countries where the rabble are out of control and you get a Putin or a Xi or a Fidel Castro, that they get beaten back. And that's the neocon perspective. It's very elitist. And you can see it like blatantly right now. Leo Strauss, his favorite TV program was Gunsmoke. He loved Gunsmoke, the cowboy.
Yes.
And people joked about how Gunsmoke, the good guy always wore a white hat and he was all good, had no flaws. The bad guy always wore a black hat and he was always completely bad, no redeeming qualities. That's the way they're portraying the situation. And Leo Strauss said that's how Americans should come to view foreign policy. And that's what we're getting with this whole Ukraine crisis. And so there you go.